The first video on global strategy talked about why firms expand across geographic markets. In the second video, we'll now look at the where question. In other words, how do firms choose which countries to expand into, and what are the factors that are involved? The question of global expansion and where and multinational enterprise chooses to go focuses on the variation that exists across countries. Across different countries, there are various national institutions in terms of legal and economic infrastructures, and also a variety of different cultural aspects, things such as business practices, religions, social preferences, etc. This variation across institutions and cultures has a great impact on several of the concepts we've been talking about. For example, the Pestel forces that we discussed in industry analysis vary greatly across country boundaries. In addition, the nature of the industry and the five forces, including competition, vary greatly within different countries. And then finally, customer demand for products and services vary greatly because of differences in culture and social preferences. As a result, by thinking about the different industry factors and demand factors, different countries offer different opportunities for multinational enterprises, and the firm must quickly, or not quickly, but must in depth look at which countries are a best fit for the firm's core competence, and where can the firm leverage its core competence to try and further its competitive or corporate advantage. This graph demonstrates a little bit further the implications of the differences in culture. On the first box on the left-hand side, you can see the different types of cultural differences we might see. For example, there might be differences in geography, languages, religion, political systems, traditions, economic values. All of these differences result in the varying consumer tastes and buying habits, which will then affect the industry and the growth and profitability of firms. Thus, a multinational enterprise must try to understand as best possible these national cultures before they enter the market, and try to identify which ones will favor their products or services, and or when the firm must adapt its products or services to fit the existing culture within the country it is trying to enter. Another framework to help identify where multinational firms might choose to operate is Porter's Diamond Model. And here what Porter does is more look at the economic factors that may favor a particular country. And so Porter has identified 4 characteristics, and the firm will want to assess these characteristics to identify, again, which countries are more attractive. We'll start first on the left, where we have factor conditions. Factor conditions involve the endowments, or the varying endowments across countries, of the raw factors for production of goods and services, things such as land, labor pools, available capital, and available human capital as well. These factor conditions will identify which countries provide an opportunity for a firm to produce its goods or services. On the right-hand side, in the yellow box, you can see demand conditions. This focuses on the size and buying habits of the consumers within that country, in particular for the firm's goods or services, and also perhaps looking at things like growth in disposable income or income and purchasing power. Again, the firm is trying to identify favorable demand conditions. At the top, we then have firm strategy, structure, and rivalry, and this is basically looking at the competitive intensity of the firm's industry within that country. And so looking at, again, the structure of the industry, similar to what we did with industry analysis in terms of the size and strength of local firms as well as other international competitors, and also the nature of rivalry to determine whether profitability is possible if the firm is able to enter successfully. And then lastly, down the bottom, there are related and supporting industries. And this is really looking at the availability of suppliers and complementers to the firm's products and services that will enable the firm to enter and operate in that market successfully. Thus, Porter's Diamond Model essentially allows the firm to look at the key economic factors that within a country that will either provide the firm with an advantage within that country or may offer or result in a disadvantage, and thus this will help the firm choose the correct markets or the appropriate countries based on the economic models. In closing, when considering where to operate or where to expand to, the firm will want to consider the cultural factors we mentioned, but also Porter's economic factors, and try to identify which countries offer the firm the best opportunity for success in geographic expansion. But it's worth noting some countries are going to offer that opportunity for success in the short term, while other countries may offer greater opportunities, but in the longer term. But the firm may have to learn about the culture first and learn about the different business environments and different business practices. Thus, firms will want to balance the short-term benefits and the long-term benefits and try to figure out what works best for their strategy. Again, this geographic expansion is driven by what's appropriate given the firm's strategy and its core competence, and then identifying which countries the firm should expand to and the timing of that expansion to fulfill its strategic objectives.